everyone, my name is Sankey, and today we are tying up the last part of the 12-bar blues that we're talking about in a tongue block style from a tongue blocking perspective. And we are focusing in now on the 5 chord, the 4 chord, and then the last 2 bars, which is the turnaround. Lots of different ways of playing that. So far we've covered the 1 chord, which is the first 4 bars, the 4 chord, which is the next 2 bars, that's 6 bars, and then after that you come back to the 1 chord for 2 bars, and then that's the point where we're going to be talking about onwards. So let me just quickly play for the beginners out there what that sounds like and where exactly we are in the 12-bar sequence. So we're using a C harmonica, C diatonic blues harmonica in the key of G, and so wherever it sounds like this. There, that's where we are. So this is where we hit the 5 chord. So for all the beginners out there, the 5 chord is 1 bar, i.e. 4 beats if we're in 4/4. The 4 chord is 1 bar, so the same time duration, 4 beats if we're in 4/4. And then you've got the last 2 bars, which you can just play 1 cycle through the 1 chord. So playing it at its most simplest form, it would sound like this. The 5 chord, we can use the tonic, which is the root note of that chord, which we can use here. We'll use the draw 4, but you could use the draw 1 or you could use the draw 8. We use the draw 4 here. Then we go to the 4 chord, and again that's the blow 4, and you can do that very simply just by holding that note for 4 beats or playing each beat with the same note. So it would sound like this. I'll play both ways and I'll bring it back round to the start of the next 12-bar sequence. So very simply, next 12 bar, or okay, so that's it's kind of simplest way, and that's for the beginners out there. And with both those ways, you it's all about the expression you put in, okay, and keeping it tidy and clean, and keeping the timing and the transition between each of those chord changes cleanly. The next way that a lot of people talk about, that's worth mentioning, is we've got 4 beats on the 5 chord and the 4 chord, and you can play the arpeggio. So there's lots of videos about this. So you can play the arpeggio, which is if you take a chord, so notes played at the same time, but break it down so you play that chord 1 note at a time, which normally be the 1, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, and so on. We would just take 4 of those notes. In this case, we would take the 1, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. So those notes for the way that you could do that here would be the draw 1, the draw 2 half step bend, the draw 3 whole step bend, and the blow 4. And that is the arpeggio for the 5 chord. So again, tongue blocked, draw 1, so in context, and then you've got the 4 chord, and you already know the arpeggio for that, which is the blow 1, the blow 2, the blow 3, or the draw 2, but let's use the blow 3 here, and then the draw 3 half step bend. Sorry, yeah, that's right. So in context, and then you're back to the 1. Okay, so those are normally the sort of basic ways you talk about it. So I want to talk about another way, which is kind of something Big Walter would do, which is use tongue blocking to do these octave jumps. which sounds really cool and illustrates how using tongue blocking you can move around the harmonica in a different way. As I've talked about before, you can miss holes out in a way that you can't do if you only lip purse. So it's going to sound like this. Back round again. So what am I doing there? So the start of it is draw one, and then we do, and that draw one, if you're an intermediate tongue blocker, you're not too confident, you can do that lip pursed, because what we're going to do is we're going to tongue switch, or you're going to throw your tongue out to do that draw four block next. So we're going, my draw one's a bit out of tune there, apologies. So the way I would do that is I'm tongue blocking from one side of my mouth and then switching to the other, as we've talked about. So, but if you can lip purse the lower note and then tongue block the higher note, again, that's a big step forward. So then what we do is we go to the draw five. Now the draw five on this chord, on the fifth, is the minor third. So it gives it kind of, that's the blue note. And then we go back to the draw four, okay? So you've just got three notes and there's 4 beats. So and that's how you can use tongue blocking as an example on the 5 chord. Then we repeat that process on the 4 chord. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go blow 1, blow 4, draw 3, half step bend, and then down, resolve it to the draw 2. So and you can play those notes doubling each one, or you can play it each note just held for the beat. So putting those two together, now, what I want to pull out here, as well as the stuff that we talked about, the tongue slaps, the octaves, all the different things you can do here, you're jumping around the harp in a different way. So try and play that only lip purse. I think you'll find making those whole transitions is very difficult. Whereas if you're using tongue blocking or weaving that into your playing, even if you lip purse, you'll be able to make these moves a lot easier. So you're going, so at that point I'm on draw 4, and then I'm going to go to the blow 1, so I'm missing hole 3 and hole 2 out. So I'm tongue switching from the other side, but even if you can't do that and you do the blow 1 lip pursed and then move back to tongue blocking for the blow 4, you'll find that you're able to get around and move around a lot easier. So you've got, now the way I bring this back round to play the last 2 bars is very simple. I simply do a draw 2, whole step bend, and then bring it back up, and then repeat the cycle. So it's, and then the next 12 bar. So bringing all those different things together, you've now got lots of different ways you can play that 5 chord, 4 chord, and the turnarounds. You can play, you can hold the note, you can do the arpeggio, you can do the lick that I just showed you. And again, as I've talked about before, very important to practice a couple of things. As well as doing the 12 bar sequence all the way through, but looping it around. A lot of beginner players, they just play it through once and stop, or it's not tidy. So play it all the way through and keep going. But also practice in the same way that we did a video transitioning from the 1 chord to the 4 chord and just playing those 2 chords. It's also great to practice just transitioning around those last 4 bars. So just going through the 5 chord, the 4 chord, and the turnaround, and then back round. So if I give you an example of what that could sound like, the different things that I've talked about, it would sound like this. So you can just keep rolling around like that. So now we have got the point where, as a beginner or as an intermediate or an advanced player, you've got various ways that you can tongue block right through a 12 bar. And if you go back and look at the other 3 videos that I've done, 4 videos on tongue blocking specifically for the 12 bar, with all the different moves and licks, you've got a whole world of variation that you can incorporate into your own playing. So let me just, to close off, play a complete 12 bar, 2 12 bar sequences, illustrating some of the examples. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to follow up with another video where I go into some more advanced nuances around the 5 and the 4 chord. But now we're at the point where we should be able to do this. And so on. I hope that brings it all together for you, gives you some things to think about, and going to follow up with one which takes it up to another level. Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone who's watching and posting comments. Really appreciate it.